Welcome, every one of you. As we promised, we are now in chapter 8. The number of new beginnings in the good guys' numbers, good guys and gals. Here in 8, we have the wise men of Nimrod. Okay, so here we go with the Babylonian doctrine, folks. We must pay attention to this because it goes into all the pieces of Osiris, all the satanic religions. They will all harmonize here with what's being laid out with the roots of all idolatry and witchcraft. They all go back to Babylon, folks. So we have a great expose of all of this. Now, don't get me wrong. The King James 77 books gives you all the ammunition you need to understand the occult. It goes over the idolatry and the worship of the sun, the moon, and the stars, and what they do, the names of many, many, many of their gods, okay, and the Canaanite religion of worship in the Nephilim, and it gives you a lot. But as we are in this quest to understand all that we can understand, the wisdom and understanding, we got this great supplement here, and we're going to get started in it. Here in chapter 8, we have these ungodly wise men of Nimrod here. Verse 1, it says, "And it was in the night that Abram was born, that all the servants of Terah and all the wise men of Nimrod and his conjurers came and ate and drank in the house of Terah. And they rejoiced with him on that night." What do they do when they conjure, folks? They get the demons. They contact the fallen angels. That's what we're talking about. They can't bring someone back from the dead, no. But they can surely contact these deities that have lost their ungodly body, the Nephilim, the Rephaim, the fallen angels that lost their first estate. All of that is conjured through witchcraft. Into it says, "And when all the wise men and conjurers went out from the house of Terah, they lifted up their eyes toward heaven that night to look at the stars. And they saw, and behold, one very large star came from the east and ran in the heavens, and he swallowed up the 4 stars from the 4 sides of the heavens." Okay, notice this came from the east. That is the direction that Christ will come from. He will go east to west. That is the direction the sun rotates. The moon rotates. And all the stars of heaven rotate. So see, this is Christ's bloodline here. All right. This is not only his physical, but his spiritual family. And notice the great sign in the heaven. 3, and all the wise men of the king and his conjurers were astonished at the sight. And the sages understood this matter, and they knew its import. So it's very important. It's a sign of the enemy of the fallen angels. It's the enemy of Lucifer here, and they knew that. In 4 it says, and they said to each other, this only betokens the child that has been born to Terah this night, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, he and his children forever, and he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their lands. Oh boy, that is a mouthful, ladies and gentlemen. That goes right to the end times, but it even goes through all the time. Is it not the 12 sons that are the family of Israel that is going to come in and take over Canaan? Okay, so there it is. But yet the final seed that we're talking about is Jesus Christ and the second coming, and this has been fulfilled throughout all the generations, time periods, and yet it goes right to the end times. And they know that here, because we are all, folks, we are all the seed of Abraham that know the Lord. Are we? Yes, we are. In 5 it says, and the wise men and conjurers went home that night. And in the morning all these wise men and conjurers rose up early and assembled in an appointed house. Okay, so here they go with a little conspiracy. In 6, and they spoke and said to each other, behold, the sight that we saw last night is hidden from the king. It has not been made known to him, period. In 7, and should this thing get known to the king in the latter days, he will say to us, why have you concealed this matter from me? And then we shall all suffer death. Therefore, now let us go and tell the king the sight which we saw, and the interpretation thereof, and we shall then remain clear. Okay, so look here, when it comes to the latter days, they're talking about the future. Remember, they don't have the wisdom and understanding that is given by God Almighty, although they have parts of it. And here they don't want their head to roll. Okay, so they're going to go inform the king about this child that is born. Christ's bloodline, our spiritual bloodline. In 8 it says, and they did so, and they all went to the king and bowed down to him to the ground. And they said, may the king live, may the king live. And he's not going to live. He's going to keep regressing, get more in contact with the devil as he goes, and he is going to suffer death. Very fascinating that he's out hunting, and who it is that slays him. That's here in Jasher. We'll get to that. 9 it says, in there, here they are talking to the king. We heard that a son was born to Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of thy host, and we yesternight came to his house. And we ate and drank and rejoiced with him that night. 10 it says, and when the servants went out from the house of Terah to go to our respective homes to abide there for the night. We lifted up our eyes to heaven, and we saw a great star coming from the east, and the same star ran with great speed and swallowed up 4 great stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. All right. What is that? Well, there's 4 great empires that are going to get swallowed up by Jesus Christ. The first is going to be Nimrod's kingdom here, the one that's going to build the great obelisk to the sky, and so that they can travel around and around in a counterclockwise manner. See, the star came from the east, went to the west, and when you go up the ladder, up the obelisk, the phallic symbol, to the sky, you go counterclockwise, like witches do. Yes, indeed. So it's going to swallow up Babylon. It's going to swallow up the Medo-Persian. It's going to swallow up Greco-Roman. And it's going to swallow up the earth with Mystery Babylon. And that's the sign in the heaven that is given by God there. In 11 it says, "And thy servants were astonished at the sight which we saw, and we greatly terrified, and we made our judgment upon the sight, and knew by our wisdom the proper interpretation thereof, that this thing applies to the child that is born to Terah, who will grow up and multiply greatly and become powerful and kill all the kings of the earth and inherit all their lands, he and his seed forever." That just doesn't stop here with Abraham. It doesn't just stop with taking over Canaan through Moses and Joshua. It doesn't just stop there with Solomon and his empire, or David and his empire. This goes right to the second coming here in 11. In 12 it says, "And now, our Lord and King, behold, we have truly acquainted thee with what we have seen concerning this child." 13. "If it seemeth good to the king to give his father value for this child, we will slay him before he shall grow up and increase in the land, and his evil increase against us, that we and our children perish through his evil." Okay, you see, all these ungodly people just love to slay kids, don't they? That's their answer. That's the same answer there with Moses. That's the same answer there when Christ was to be born. So we not only get one child, we get a bunch. And it doesn't matter whether it's one child, whether it's in the womb, out of the womb, it doesn't matter. It's still satanic as hell. We and our children perish through his evil. That's the spirit of fear. 14, "And the king heard their words, and they seemed good in his sight. And he sent and called for Terah, and Terah came before the king." Period. 15, "And the king said to Terah, I have been told that a son was yesternight born to thee, And after this manner was observed in the heavens at his birth. 16. And now therefore give me the child, that we may slay him before his evil springs up against us, and I will give thee for his value thy house full of silver and gold. All right, now let's weigh that out in the balance. Silver and gold, what is that? That's rocks. And here's a valuable child, the seed of Jesus Christ. Yahshua's seed. And you're going to give him what? Rocks, silver and gold. All right, so there is that. Now there's a lot of power that can be wrought with a house full of silver and gold. And I'm not poo-pooing that. 17. And Terah answered the king and said to him, My lord and king, I have heard thy words, and thy servant shall do all that his king desireth. 18. But my lord and king, I will tell thee what happened to me yesternight, that I may see what advice the king will give his servant. And then I will answer the king upon what he has just spoken. And the king said, Speak. 19. And Terah said to the king, Ayon, son of Mored, came to me yesternight, saying, 20. Give unto me the great and beautiful horse that the king gave thee, and I will give thee silver and gold and straw and provender for its value. And I said to him, Wait till I see the king concerning thy words. And behold, whatever the king saith, that will I do. So here he's using this similitude, yet it's reality, I guess. And it's to debate with the king softly here. Okay, listen. 21. And now, my lord and king, behold, I have made this thing known to thee, and the advice which my king will give unto his servant, that will I follow. Period. 22. And the king heard the words of Terah, and his anger was kindled, and he considered him in the light of a fool. 23. And the king answered Terah, and he said to him, Art thou so silly, ignorant, or deficient in understanding, to do this thing, to give thy beautiful horse for silver and gold, or even for straw and provender? Question mark. In 24. Art thou so short of silver and gold that thou shouldest do this thing, because thou canst not obtain straw and provender to feed thy horse? Question mark. And what is silver and gold to thee, or straw and provender, that thou shouldest give away that fine horse which I gave thee, like which there is none to be had in the whole earth? Okay, so Terah is comparing this to his child. 25. And the king left off speaking, and Terah answered the king, saying, Like unto this has the king spoken to his servant. 26. I beseech thee, my lord and king, what is this which thou didst say unto me, saying, give thy son, that we may slay him, and I will give thee silver and gold for his value. What shall I do with silver and gold after the death of my son? ? Who shall inherit me? Surely then at my death the silver and gold will return to my king who gave it. 27. And when the king heard the words of Terah and the parable which he brought concerning the king, it grieved him greatly, and he was vexed at this thing, and his anger burned within him. Yeah, it's like you talking to a doctor or a lawyer or some politician, right? Or your reverend. You question them, and they don't want to be questioned. They want to brutally rule, no matter how stupid they are. So here he's getting angry because he used this parable. 28, and Terah saw that the anger of the king was kindled against him, and he answered the king, saying, all that I have is in the king's power. Whatsoever the king desireth to do to his servant, that let him do. Yea, even my son. He is in the king's power, without value in exchange. He and his two brothers that are older than he, period. 29, and the king said to Terah, no, but I will purchase thy younger son for a price. 30, and Terah answered the king, saying, I beseech thee, my lord and king, to let thy servant speak a word before thee, and let the king hear the word of his servant, comma. And Terah said, let my king give me 3 days' time till I consider this matter within myself and consult with my family concerning the words of my king. And he pressed the king greatly to agree to this. 31, and the king hearkened to Terah, and he did so, and he gave him 3 days' time. And Terah went out from the king's presence, and he came home to his family, and spoke to them all the words of the king. And the people were greatly afraid. 32, and it was in the 3rd day that the king sent to Terah, saying, send me thy son for a price, as I spoke to thee. And shouldest thou not do this, I will send and slay all thou hast in thy house, so that thou shalt not even have a dog remaining. They're even going to get the dog. All right, in 33, and Terah hastened, as the king was urgent, and 33, and Terah hastened, as the thing was urgent from the king, and he took a child from one of his servants, which his handmaid had borne to him that day. And Terah brought the child to the king and received value for him. All right. 34. And the Lord was with Terah in this matter, that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. And the king took the child from Terah and with all his might dashed his head to the ground. For he thought it had been Abram, and this was concealed from him from that day, and it was forgotten by the king, as it was the will of providence not to suffer Abram's death. 35. And Terah took Abram his son secretly, together with his mother and nurse, and he concealed them in a cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. 36. The number of black keys on the keyboards. And the Lord was with Abram in the cave, and he grew up. And Abram was in the cave 10 years. And the king and his princes, soothsayers, and sages thought that the king had killed Abram. Okay, so it's pretty interesting. And notice how the as wise as the old conjurers are, okay, they are blinded here by the Lord. And that's one thing we got to remember, that these people, no matter how much wisdom they have, no matter how many fallen angels, how many ungodly deities that the people ruling the firmament of the earth, or they think they are, no matter how much they do this, okay, God can blind them all. And believe me, Christ said it's coming. The strong delusion is going to be sent for rejecting the truth. Rejecting truth and loving lies. We'll get strong delusion sent from God. Okay, so on we go here in chapter 9, and that is the most important number. In occult numerology, you would think it would be 6, right? But it's not. 9 is the most powerful. In the occult numerology, the wizard John Dee upped it when he wrote his book on magic and occult numerology. 9 is upside down 6, is it not? Okay, well, anyway, 6 and 9, those are the big two occult magic numbers, satanic numbers. And here we go with Abram and the Tower of Babel. So here we go. This is a big important one as they try to do this in the face of God Almighty here. Chapter 9, verse 1, and Haran, the son of Terah, Abram's oldest brother, took a wife in those days. 2, and Haran was 39 years old when he took her, and the wife of Haran conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Lot. Okay, and 3, and she conceived again and bare a daughter, and she called her name Milcah. And she again conceived and bare a daughter, and she called her name Sarah. For it says, Haran was 42 years old when he begat Sarah, which was in the 10th year of the life of Abram. And in those days Abram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Abram. And when Abram came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instruction of the Lord and his ways. And no man knew where Abram was, and Abram served Noah and Shem, his son, for a long time. See, we all need instruction, folks. We just do. Okay, and he learned here from people that knew what they were doing. And that's what we need to do. That's what I do. That's what we all do here at the table. But in 6 here comes the old Tower of Babel. And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years, and Abram knew the Lord from 3 years old, and he went in the ways of the Lord until the day of his death. And Noah and his son Shem had taught him, and all the sons of earth in those days greatly transgressed against the Lord. There's a remnant, and there's a lot of ungodliness. And that, my friends, is going on in Mystery Babylon today. Okay, so here they are transgressing against the Lord, and they rebelled against him, and they served other gods, and they forgot the Lord who had created them in the earth. And the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at that time every man his god, gods of wood and stone, which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver. And the sons of men served them, and they became their gods. And there is the birthplace of the idolatry here, folks. 7, and the king and all his servants, and Terah with all his household, were then the first of those that served gods of wood and stone. So there you go. There is your birthplace of all idolatry. That's documented. In 8, now here is Dad, and Terah has big trouble. And listen to the astrology here, folks. And in Satanism, astrology is all important. Without astrology, they can't cast their spells. All right, so that's just the way it is. The worship of the heavenlies goes deep, folks. It just does. It's in all your Druidism. All parts of the ungodly religions of the world dwell with this astrology that we're discussing here. In 8 it says, and Terah had 12 gods of a large size, made of wood and stone, after the months of the year.
12 months.
Okay, it says, and in 8 it says, and Terah had 12 gods of large size, made of wood and stone, after the 12 months of the year, and he served each one monthly. And every month Terah would bring his meat offering and drink offering to his gods. Thus did Terah all the days. In 9 here, and all that generation were wicked in the sight of the Lord. And they thus made every man his god, but they forsook the Lord who had created them. And there was not a man found in those days in the whole earth who knew the Lord, for they served each man his own god, except Noah and his household, and all those who were under his counsel. knew the Lord in those days. And you talk about a remnant, and you're talking about Babylon, and we're talking about Mystery Babylon. And look at this comparison. That's what Christ said, the days of Noah. And he also talked about Babylon the Great. And there's all these overlappings. Remember that Mystery Babylon not only absorbs the old Babylon here, but it absorbs it all. Medo-Persia, Greco-Roman, and Mystery Babylon, and all those are steeped in the occult, and all those have a remnant of believers. All right. And more or less, as the people grew and people numbered, there were more believers, but yet it's still a remnant. That hasn't changed, folks. All right, so there's that. And in 11, and Abram, the son of Terah, was waxing great in those days in the house of Noah, and no man knew it, and the Lord was with him. 12, and the Lord gave Abram an understanding heart, and he knew all the works of that generation were vain, and that all their gods were vain, and went to no avail. 13, and Abram saw the sun shining upon the earth, and Abram said unto himself, surely now this sun that shines upon the earth is God, and him will I serve. Okay, so that's who? That's Baal. But wait a minute. Listen to this understanding in this young man. Well, he's young when it comes to those days, but not to us here today. But anyway, listen to this. And Abram served the sun in that day, and he prayed to him, and when evening came, the sun as usual set as usual, and Abram said within himself, surely this cannot be God. Question mark. 15, and Abram still continued to speak within himself, who is he who made the heavens and the earth? Question mark. Who created it upon earth? Where is he? So he's what? Seeking God. 16, and night darkened over him, and he lifted up his eyes toward the west, north, south, and east, and he saw the sun had vanished from the earth, and the day became dark. 17, and Abram saw the stars and the moon before him, and he said, surely this is the God who created the whole earth as well as man. And behold, these his servants are gods around him. And Abram served the moon and prayed to it all that night. And 18, and in the morning when it was light and the sun shone upon the earth as usual, Abram saw all the things that the Lord God had made upon earth. 19, and Abram said unto himself, surely these are not gods that made the earth and all mankind, but these are the servants of God. And Abram remained in the house of Noah, and there knew the Lord and his ways, and he served the Lord all the days of his life. And all the generation forgot the Lord and served other gods of wood and stone and rebelled all their days. Okay, now he just went through what the occultists do. The sun, as I say, is Baal. The moon is Isis, the female. The stars of heaven in their courses are worshipped by the occultists, and they align them with these gods of wood and stone. Now, he just went through it within his own heart, through the Spirit of the Lord, through the understanding given him by Noah, and he's just examined occult, I want to say theosophy, but it's not philosophy. It is the occult religion given by Satan. And they believe exactly what he has just examined here, folks. They absorbed. And I don't care what part of Satanism, witchcraft, what occult god you're talking about, it all has to do with astrology. There's the alignments, the timetable of Satan. Okay, and it has to do with this astrology, folks. Without it, the witches think they are powerless. All right, so here he has just thrown out the Satanism. Okay, in 20 though, and King Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth was under his control. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. All this is harmonizing with our doctrine, folks. 21, and all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together, put Mitzrayim, Cush, and Canaan with their families. And they said to each other, come, let us build ourselves a city, and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven, and we will make ourselves famed, so that we may reign upon the whole earth, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the earth on account of their wars. All right, and this is the quest that they are on today. It's no different. They're going to rule over everybody as they see fit through the power of their fallen angel deities. This is the same thing. And instead of having the one big obelisk here, they have them all over the whole firmament of the earth and all the mystery religions of the earth. Okay, they just do. And so it's the same mindset of evil. 22, and they all went before the king, and they told the king these words, and the king agreed with them in this affair, and he did so. 23, and all the families assembled, consisting of about 600,000 men. Hey, that's the speed that the earth is flying through the void of space, they say. How about that? You believe that? The firmament of the earth placed on the pillars, fixed with the pillars God said cannot be moved. They're flying through space at 600,000 miles an hour. Where did they come up with that number? Okay, anyway, we're a stickler for numbers here at the King James Bible Prophecy Church. We watch the numbers closely. So in 23, all the families assembled, consisting of about 600,000 men, and they went to seek an extensive piece of ground to build the city and the tower. And they sought in the whole earth, and they found none like one valley at the east of the land of Shinar, about 2 days' walk. And they journeyed there, and they dwelt there. Now, bricks are what? Sacred in the occult. Okay? And you notice Pharaoh there, when you get in the Bible and you look, and Pharaoh's house was right next to the brick kiln. How about that? Well, listen to this, and why Christ said, have no bricks on his altar, because the bricks are sacred in Satanism. 24, and they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and the tower that they had imagined to complete. And there's that word, imagination, imagined. Okay, that's a satanic word. It's throughout the Bible in all 77 books. It's always evil, period. It is a conspiracy within your heart to do evil. Imaginations, that's the old English. That's the truth. 25, and the building of the tower was unto them a transgression and a sin, and they began to build it. And whilst they were building against the Lord God of heaven, they imagined in their heart to war against him and to ascend into heaven. And that, my friends, is the same imagination that's in the 10 unseen merchant kings of the earth and all their minions across the firmament of the earth. This is the same mindset. This is what's in their heart. So they've absorbed Lucifer here in 25. In 26 it says, and all these people and all the families divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, we will ascend into heaven and fight against him. They're going to make war with the Lord. And there you go with the mindset of the Battle of Armageddon. That's it. That's what the Satanists believe right there. They believe, they long for Armageddon. And they believe they're going to throw Christ away, kill all the Jews, kill all the Christians, and set Lucifer on the throne. That's the Battle of Armageddon, according to the Luciferians of the earth. Okay? But here's the next group. The second said, we will ascend to heaven and place our own gods there and serve them. And the third part said, we will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. How about that? That hasn't changed one bit. I mean, you can take bows and spears and say, well, drones and explosives or lasers or whatever. They believe they're going to overthrow Jesus Christ. Anyway, on it goes, and God knew all their works and all their evil thoughts, and he saw the city and the tower which they were building. 27, and when they were building, they built themselves a great city and a very high and strong tower, and on account of its height, the mortar and bricks did not reach the builders in their ascent to it, until those who went up had completed a full year. See, they're going, right, that's a long way up there. How would you like to be a hod carrier on that job? Well, we wouldn't, because it's evil. A full year to get it up there. How about that? Till they've completed a full year, and in parentheses it says day. And that means that in the King James it says day. And after that they reached to the builders and gave them the mortar and the bricks. Thus was it done daily. So that would match up there daily. 28, and those, and behold, in 28, and behold, these ascended and others descended the whole day. And if a brick should fall from their hands and get broken, they would all weep over it. And if a man fell and died, none of them would look at him. You see, the brick is sacred to these people. How about the perversion of the people of old Babylon? 29, and the Lord knew their thoughts, and it came to pass when they were building the Lord knew their thoughts, and it came to pass when they were building, they cast the arrows toward the heavens, and all the arrows fell upon them, filled with blood. And when they saw them, they said to each other, surely we have slain all those that are in heaven. Here, see, they're making war with the Lord and all his followers. They're going to whip all the angelic hosts that follow Christ here. Anyway, in 30, for this was from the Lord in order to cause them to err, and in order to destroy them from off the face of the ground. Okay, you see how when you reject the truth, God sends you the strong delusion. Here's an example of it here. And it's happening today, in our time. Sure is. You go out here and tell the truth to somebody, you'll find out what a stiff neck, closed ears and eyes, okay, hand in the face, hands over the ears, eyes wide shut. In 31, and they built the tower and the city, and they did this thing daily. Many days and years were elapsed. In 32, and God said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. Now, that's what I'm saying about language, and the theologians try to say we're the lords of the language, and we'll tell you what it really means, and what is Christ's name, and they just say, you got to have the theologian to understand language. Look here, God invented language. Look what they did here to language. God knows how to give you his doctrine. And that doctrine's the 77 books of the King James, flawless. And God knows how to do it. Does he not? 33, and from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. 34, and they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. 35, and the Lord smote the 3 divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, we will ascend to heaven and serve our gods, became like asps and elephants. Okay, not asp. Asp is the snake. These are apes. Okay. We will ascend to heaven and serve our gods because, we will ascend. 35, and the Lord smote the 3 divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, we will ascend to heaven and serve our gods, became like apes and elephants, black and white colored. And those who said, we will smite the heaven with arrows, the Lord killed them, one man through the hand of his neighbor. And the third division of those who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against him, the Lord scattered them throughout the earth. Okay? And that, my friends, is how all this religion was pushed throughout the whole firmament of the earth. And that you can study that. You can see the high places all built the same way across the firmament of the earth. Now, the theory of isolationism is complete bunk. Okay, that goes right along with Darwinism and the whole thing. They all were in league together to destroy real knowledge of our past. Okay, but the theory of isolationism does not hold up. Regardless of that, you see how man and woman was spread throughout the firmament of the earth here by the Lord. Okay, and that goes right along with your 77 books of the King James. (36) again here, it says, and those who were left amongst them, when they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them, they forsook the building, and they also became scattered upon the face of the whole earth. So there they went. And like I said, the theory of isolationism is complete and utter bunk. And archaeology and mythology, true history, all just throws that right out. It just debunks that whole theory of isolationism along with Darwinism, and you can throw all that right in the trash can, along with NASA and their map, their delusional satanic map that they try to give to everybody. 37, and they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore he called that place Babel, for there the Lord confounded the language of the whole earth. Behold, it was at the east of the land of Shinar. 38. And as the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof. And a fire also descended from heaven and burned another third. And the other third is left to this day. And it is of that part which was aloft, and its circumference is 3 days' walk. 39, and many of the sons of men died in that tower, a people without number. Now, I've seen the archaeology there, Tower of Babel. They don't advertise that much, do they? And they don't advertise language. You understand that God gave us language. And according here to Jasher, Adam was born with language, okay? He's the God of language. He's the God of the whole creation. Jesus Christ created all things, and without him there was nothing created. He created it all, and that includes language, folks. I mean, I don't know how to explain any clearer than that these theologians get in here, and when you get a Greek Hebrew text, you better look out, because they've gotten worse. They've gotten worse through time. These experts, see, that say they have the keys of wisdom and understanding, and they can tell you what that word really meant. I'm telling you, 99% of those people are there to pollute you. They just are. You better look out. Okay, and I have to look out for them. That being said, we appreciate all of you, and we're going to move right on very soon. Thank you for studying. Bye-bye.